Okay, Grace, this is beef with broccoli. So I'll walk through each of the steps that I do and show you kind of how I break things down, and then put together the final sauce for it at the end. So this is, I use a London Broil when I'm making this. You could probably use a chuck or something cheaper even, but it just seems to be like the cheapest yet best cut of beef when I'm making it. And I'll cut it into some kind of cube where the pieces come out somewhere like that, relatively thin, about 2 or 3 inches long. And these are going to cook very quick in the pan. I have the pan going right now. I'll show you how quick it takes just to cook one of those. Before I even start, I chop up all the broccoli. I use about 2 heads of broccoli. If you want to put onion in, you can. If you want to put red pepper in, you can. If we have it, I'll put it in. If we don't, I won't. I chop up some garlic and ginger, maybe about 3-4 cloves of garlic and a cube of ginger, maybe that big, or about half of that size maybe. And then I grate it with the rasp, and then just kind of have that ready for when I'm done cooking the broccoli. I like bamboo shoots in mine, which are just kind of like this, and sliced water chestnuts. Mom hates that. I think they don't smell great, but it adds like a little crunch to it, because sometimes the broccoli isn't crunchy, so that adds a little bit of a crunch to it. So that's the ingredients. And now what I'll do is I'll put together the sauce. So what I did here real quick with the beef, once I cut the beef, I put it in a bowl, and I put a teaspoon of baking soda and about 4 or 5 tablespoons of water, and get in there and mix it up. And the meat starts soaking up all of that water, and it kind of creates this velvety beef thing that most Chinese restaurants do. Then when I'm done with that, I'll put about 5 tablespoons of soy sauce in here and let it sit in there for about 10 or 15 minutes. So baking soda, water, let it sit for 10, 15 minutes, then the soy sauce, let it sit for 5, 10 minutes. Like I said, I have a hot pan, and I'll show you how quick that actually cooks. Now obviously there's going to be more in there when we cook it, but this cooks pretty quick. And I like to use something other than olive oil when I do this, like sesame oil. It just has a different flavor to it. Okay, so you can see this is kind of almost cooking through to the other side already. See that? Now, I'm not going to overfill my pan with what I have. I'll probably only do half. I'll do 2 batches, maybe 3, depending on how much we have. But that is about all the time. If you slice it thin enough, that's about all the time it needs to cook. So again, the fuller the pan, the cooler it's going to be. You'll need to do a little longer, but that's kind of what you're looking for when you cook it. Just something that quick. And you know who loves that? Percy Lou. Don't you love that? It's hot. Okay, as for the sauce. Oyster sauce. That's the most important. You could use oyster flavored sauce. I think oyster sauce is a little better though. It has a little more meaty kind of flavor to it. I use about 6 tablespoons or so of that. You could just judge it. It's a lot. You can see that's a pretty good amount. Then I do beef stock, not broth. I do stock. 3 or 4 tablespoons. Maybe 1 or 2 tablespoons of sherry, roughly. I like some soy sauce in there too, even though there's some in there. I like to put some of that in here. And then lastly, I use dark brown sugar. I like the dark brown sugar in this, maybe about a tablespoon or so. And if you want, you can see that's nice sauce. If you want, you could put some cornstarch in there too. Maybe a tablespoon of cornstarch. So when that cooks, then it thickens up. Or you could do that kind of after the fact. Either one. I usually put it in here, and then that sauce thickens right up. So in order of operations, I do my meat. I'll be doing that right now. When that's done, I'll do my broccoli. Sometimes I put a little water in the pan, put a lid on it, steam it for about 2 minutes. And it gets really green and it stays crunchy because you don't want to make it all mushy. Then I'll do the water chestnuts, bamboo shoots, garlic and ginger, and then finally everything back in with the sauce. And then it's done. That pan is smoking hot. I am going to put half of the beef in there. And try to get them on a single layer, otherwise they're not going to cook. And that's the biggest pain in the ass of doing this dish, is trying to get all these little pieces of beef flat and in a single layer before the bottom ones cook and the top ones are raw. Okay, so that was, see how they kind of curl under each other, and you just want to make sure they're kind of laying flat. And you want to make them all the same size. So if you look through these, they are really cut to about the same size, because if they're not, if you have a couple fatties in there, like maybe in this one, it's going to take longer to cook, so that one won't be done while the other ones are done. So, and if you look in there, you can see that all around the edges it's cooked. Which means they're cooking pretty fast. This pan was pretty hot, so they're just about ready to get flipped over. And then, guys, have a little bit of sesame oil, and you can use peanut oil. You can use canola oil, something that has a high flash point. I wouldn't recommend olive oil. See how some of them look at them when you have, see that? When they start curling under each other. But you don't want to overcook them. If you overcook them, they're going to be gummy and chewy. So just when they kind of lose that redness is when you want to take them out. And I just throw everything onto a dish. That's about it. Scoop them out. This is the time Percy and I have a great time eating all the cooked beef. We eat about half of that, so make sure you make enough if you're going to do the same thing. A little more oil. The last of the beef. That was pretty good. Probably divided perfectly in half. Okay, and I'll get back to you when this is cooked. Okay, so all the beef is done. All the beef is cooked. Just probably put a piece of foil over this, tent it. It'll accumulate all the juices in there, which then go back into the pan. Pan is still hot. I put a little more sesame oil in there. And I'm going to throw in everything at this point. I'm going to put in the... Actually, you know what? I am going to do the ginger and garlic first. I usually do that later, but I'm going to do that first. Just let that go for about 30 seconds in that oil until you start really smelling the ginger and the garlic. Smell that, and that's about all you need. Then I'm going to throw in everything else. I'm going to put the broccoli that fell into first. You don't want that, believe me. The broccoli, the water chestnuts. Go ahead if you want it. I don't use all of them, it gets a little overwhelming. And then just break that all apart. The onions, mix it all together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little water in there and steam it for about 2 minutes. That should be enough to pretty much cook it. So maybe a quarter cup of water, maybe a little less. that steams, I'll cover my beef with tin foil. Just like that. And then we'll be back in 2 minutes to see what this looks like. Okay, so that's been about 2 or 3 minutes. Put the water and the lid on. And you can see broccoli's very green. Has a little bit of snap to it. I'm going to put, again, you don't need to salt this dish a lot because there's a lot of soy sauce in it. But I'm going to go ahead and hit this with a little bit of salt. And secret ingredient, little red pepper flake. So depending on how much kick you want, just put a little bit of that in. Maybe a half teaspoon, something around there. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Again, you don't want to overcook the broccoli, so it's all mushy and kind of falling apart. You want that snap to it. So now I'm going to add back in the meat, and I'll show you how much juice is kind of accumulated with that. I mean, that's a lot of juice that you want to make sure you put right back into the pan. And do that for everything. Whatever you cook, chicken, beef, pork, whatever you're doing, save it if you have it on the side, and then use that juice because that's probably the most flavorful part of the entire meal. So I just want to mix this around. Probably could use a bigger pan at some point. Now I'm going to pour in that sauce that we made. I did put the cornstarch in here, so it should thicken up as it begins to heat. And now I'm going to switch to a spoon that I can turn this over with. And guess what I can't find? A spoon that I can turn this over with. Not the best. So I'm just going to get that. Now the pan's cooled down a lot, but once that starts to boil, that liquid starts to boil, it'll start thickening up. And then I'm done. But over here, real quick, I have the rice, the instant rice. And I always put about a tablespoon or two of butter on it. No one knows that. That's my secret. And then I just put some regular table salt on it. And then just kind of mix that together. And then that's ready to go. That's it. That's how you make velvety beef and broccoli. Now me and Percy Lou are going to enjoy.